Welcome to Smart Sustainability Deep Dive, a podcast with an in-depth conversation on topics we talk about on the Smart Sustainability television show. Topic this week is revolutionizing energy by driving down the demand. Now you may wonder, how could this possibly work? And we're going to find out. My guest this week is Ted Trabue. He's director of DC Sustainable Energy Utility. And he's going to tell us what we can do and what they are doing to drive down demand. Thanks for joining us. Welcome on Deep Dive, Ted Trabue. It's so great to have you on. I do want to go deeper actually. So last time you were on the Smart Sustainability television program, you spoke about we can revolutionize energy by driving down the demand side. I want to hear more about that. What did you mean by that?
Okay, so energy, and particularly electricity, is a supply and demand issue. If particularly in what we witnessed in Texas and what we have witnessed in California on numerous occasions, if you don't have enough on the supply side, you get brownouts or blackouts. Okay. Conversely, if you have too much supply coming in, you can have similar problems where you're overloading systems and systems can burn out. That's the supply side of it. And then there's the demand side of it, which is how much energy are we requesting to use in our homes, in our offices, and other things. As cities, as our country is growing, we have to continuously balance this supply and demand phenomenon. And quite frankly, since the advent of our electric system and our electric grids over 100 years ago, similarly to the way we look at building out our highway infrastructure, as you get more cars that you're trying to get up and down the road, you build bigger roads. As you get more and more people building offices and needing electricity in their homes, you build more generating and transmission, distribution systems. That has been our traditional response to making sure we had enough supply to meet the demand. When the early founders of the energy efficiency movement came along, they looked at this proposition and they said, why don't we try to reduce demand versus increasing supply? Let's be honest about it. You're going to pay for it as a consumer, as a residential consumer, as a commercial consumer. You're going to pay for it either way. Don't think that the electric company is going to build these new generation and transmission systems that cost billions of dollars out of the generosity of their hearts. That's not going to happen. Conversely, if you need to put energy efficiency measures in your home, be they more efficient light bulbs to more efficient refrigerators and air conditioning and heating systems, there is a cost to that as well. Nothing comes for free. Let's be honest. But what has been proven through the economics over the years is that the cost of reducing demand is far less than the cost of increasing supply. Let me repeat that. The cost of reducing demand is far less than the cost of increasing supply. So as consumers, would we rather see, again, more generating stations and transmission stations built that are the cost of which will be rolled into our monthly bills? Or would we rather see less electricity consumed in our homes and in our businesses, and even though we might pay a little bit to get that, it's ultimately going to reduce our bills because we're using less of the commodity? It's a simple supply and demand problem.
So two things that I want to talk a little bit about. So when you said we have to learn to better balance supply and demand, that sounds to me we need more of a dynamic system in place where you can adjust accordingly versus having more static systems like building a fourth lane of the road, if you want, like cemented in there and just make sure there are more roads into town versus actually figuring out how can we adjust traffic, just as an analogy. Right. So in terms of having more dynamic systems to regulate supply and demand, where are we on that one?
There are some traditional ways that we have tried to regulate demand, and then there are some what I would call newer, more strategic ways to regulate demand. Let me
So the
start
more
with traditional.
strategic ones are what you mainly do, what we're going to be talk more about in terms of how also you as we as consumers can
Mhm.
take some of the responsibility for it. Because I do think
Yeah,
reducing energy should be really almost like the responsibility. Everyone should have an interest to reduce what they consume in terms of energy.
right, right. So let me talk about how we have done this traditionally, and then let me talk about how we do it more strategically.
Hmm.
And this has been in effect in many jurisdictions. I can't say all, but in many jurisdictions
Hmm.
for a number of years. The weather in this area, at least, and in most areas, is somewhat predictable. And predictable by meaning a day or two in advance, you basically know what the weather is going to be.
Hmm.
We knew 2 or 3 days ago that it was going to be 75 degrees today. 75 degrees is a warm day for this time of year, but not, that unusual. When this really becomes an issue is in the summertime, when you get what are called peak demand days. Our systems are built to the point where they peak out, or they have a maximum capacity of the amount of generation that they are allowed, or able, not allowed, but able to deliver. And it's on those peak demand days, maybe 20, at the most 30 days a year, but we're starting to see more of them as the climate is changing. On those peak demand days, when you're trying to say, okay, what do we do to make sure that we have enough electricity to go around, and that we don't have to start having brownouts and hopefully not blackouts? So what we've done is we go, typically we will try to call on generating stations. This is the supply side of the phenomenon, to help us bring in more supply for generation, maybe from areas where it's not as warm, and not everybody's going to be tugging on those extremely high energy consuming air conditioners. And then what we have done, particularly at the residential level and sometimes at the commercial level, is we will put a device on the resident's air conditioner that actually cycles the air conditioner off. And you sign up for this with your utility company. It'll cycle the air conditioner off for either 15 minutes, 30, or 45 minutes an hour during a peak demand day. That shaves back enough electric use. If you get hundreds and hundreds of people on these utility programs,
Hmm.
that shaves back enough electric use to make sure that you get through those peak demand days and everybody has enough electricity.
So consumer has the choice to sign up for
The
this, right?
consumer has the choice to sign up. Now, let's say you are a consumer that has a job and you work from 9 to 5 o'clock. You don't mind it if the air conditioner is cycled off for 30 or 45 minutes during the hour in the middle of the day, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You're not at home anyway. But let's say you take a phenomenon like, many of us have been working from our homes for almost the last year now.
Hmm.
That might be a problem. If we're still working from our homes in the summer, and then the air conditioner starts cycling off, that's not going to be a comfortable experience whatsoever. You will want your air conditioner to be running full time. You don't want your house to increase in heat like it will when you have these programs to cycle off. Similarly, on the commercial side, I remember, the easy things to do. You go and you pull all the blinds shut on the outside of the building. Make sure you're not letting that sun come in.
Hmm.
If you have 4 elevator banks, you shut off 2 of them. If you have 6 elevator banks, you shut off 4 of them. Um, Making sure that those things in the building that consume lots of electricity are shut down. But then after the peak demand day is over, things go back to normal. You're still using an air conditioner that uses up a lot of electricity, or an elevator system that's using a lot of electricity. What we have been doing more strategically is bringing to market products that continuously use less energy. It doesn't matter whether it's peak demand day or whether it's a regular day like today. These measures, these energy efficiency measures, be they lighting, air conditioning systems, washers and dryers in your home, washing machines for your clothes, continuously using less electricity, reducing demand, which obviates the need for us to build that next electric generating station and therefore incur the billions of dollars in cost, not only economic cost, but environmental cost as well, because many of our generators are running off of either natural gas, oil, or coal, our fossil fuels. That's GHG emissions in the air. That's global warming impact. Mm. So what we're trying to do, both from an economic and an environmental perspective, is reduce and eliminate the need to build more power plants, to build more transmission lines, to use up all of those fossil fuels, and put systems in our homes and in our businesses that actually help us reduce demand for electricity and reduce cost and have a greater or a much smaller environmental footprint or environmental impact than some of the measures that we have today.
Are there some areas or some characteristics, be it weather or be it part of communities or towns, that have better structures or characteristics or conditions in place to use these type of tools, or can they, is it fair to say they're fair game for every community that's out there?
That's a great question, and there are geographic differences, absolutely. Some of the measures, let's talk about air conditioners. We've been talking about air conditioners for the last little while. Mm-hmm. You go up to New England, not everyone even has air conditioning. It's not as big an issue. Mm-hmm. But in New England, it's heating. What are you using to heat your home that becomes a huge issue? Down here in the mid-Atlantic region, a lot of people are moving to something called an air source heat pump, which provides heat and air conditioning, heat in the winter, of course, air conditioning in the summer. However, these air source heat pumps can't provide enough heat to service a home up in New England, where sometimes it gets down to, 10 below zero, 20 below zero. These air source heat pumps are not good for that kind of extremely cold climate. But there are other measures, very basic ones. Let's start with lighting. Everybody has lights in their house, right? Mm-hmm. Admit it, everybody's got a few lights in the house, at least a few. Lighting is typically 20% of your monthly electric bill. That's 20% right there, lighting. So we're helping people move from the traditional light bulb that Thomas Edison invented, that incandescent bulb, to what is now known as a light emitting diode, an LED bulb. LED bulbs will dramatically decrease energy consumption in your house immediately.
And they're replaceable too, right?
A light emitting diode, well, the great thing about it is take an incandescent bulb. An incandescent bulb typically lasts about a year. Mm-hmm. A light emitting diode typically lasts about 7 to 9 years. Mm-hmm. But not only are you not going to the grocery store every year buying new bulbs for the entirety of your house, and this is one of the things that we like to advertise, particularly for seniors who don't like getting up on chairs or ladders replacing bulbs because of the fear of the risk of falling. You put it in there once, that bulb will be good almost for the next decade. You don't have to worry about it again. And again, tremendously decreasing energy use. Talk about appliances in your home, and I love talking about appliances. Let's take some of the things that all of us do, most of us do anyway. We wash the dishes. Washing your dishes by hand is about the worst thing you can do from an energy perspective.
Okay, let me repeat this so everybody listens up on this one, because this is a big one for some people, more so than for others. So washing your dishes by hand?
Washing the dishes by hand. Remember, washing the dishes is not only water use, but you're probably going to use warm water. You need energy to warm the water up, and so that is more energy that you're using, all right? Washing the dishes by hand can use as much as 27 gallons. Mm-hmm. A high efficient, and when I say high efficient, there are what are called Energy Star rated appliances. All appliances have Energy Star. Some are Energy Star, some are not. You can always buy a washing machine or a dishwasher that's not an Energy Star unit, and you can buy the Energy Star unit. You have to go into the store and carefully understand what you're shopping for. But the Energy Star unit, as opposed to 27 gallons of washing by hand, about 15 gallons with a traditional unit, An Energy Star unit uses 3 gallons of water. Okay, 27 by hand, 15 with a traditional unit, 3 gallons with an Energy Star unit. If you do the math over the course of a year, there's a 5,000 gallon difference between washing your dishes by hand and washing your dishes with an Energy Star unit. It's the cost of water, it's the cost of electricity or natural gas to heat the water. You're both saving on the Energy Star unit. Let me go conversely to something simple. A lot of people take showers. Some people like to take a bath. A 10-minute shower, water comes out of a shower at about 2.5 gallons a minute. That's the way that the faucets are set, 2.5 gallons a minute. So a 10-minute shower takes 25 gallons of water. Filling up the bathtub is 70 gallons. Okay? Depending upon how much you bathe, you can understand how much you might save over the course of a month or a year. These are just easy things that we do every day in the house.
Yeah.
You know, I also like to talk about, you know, our favorite thing. Most people have a refrigerator in their home. And when you look at the refrigerator, look at the face of the refrigerator, the doors are there, but at the bottom, there's going to be this set of vents. And I'll bet you $1 next time I see you that if you look at those vents are real dusty and dirty. First, if you pull the refrigerator away from the wall, those vents are dusty and dirty back there as well. Just clean the vents with a broom. This won't cost you a dime. Okay. I'm not asking you to take a shorter shower. I'm not asking you to go and buy a dishwasher. Just clean the vents with a little broom or a dust rag. It helps the refrigerator breathe more easily. The refrigerator is a unit in your home that is running 24/7, 365. Just helping it operate more efficiently will cut your energy consumption. These are basic things. I'm not asking, but this is way before we talk about let's go buy some solar panels or go and completely replace our central air conditioning system. I'm just talking about basic blocking and tackling things that everyone has in their homes and immediate ways to save on your energy consumption. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not a big fan of paying more money every month to the electric company. Most people, I would believe.
Oh, heck no, me not
You
either.
know, most
Particularly if
people
it's
would,
so
yeah,
easy
most
to do
people would welcome
other
the
ways.
opportunity if I could shave my electric bill by
Yeah.
$5 or $10 a month. You know, maybe that doesn't sound like a lot. Maybe I can shave it by more than that. That's money that I can spend on other things that I'd like to do in life.
Yeah.
So these are, like I said, some very, very basic tips or suggestions that I might
Oh, I
give.
think these are great tips because I will tell you, I think even the one with actually washing your dishes by hand versus using the dishwasher, I can't tell you how often I heard people say it's cheaper to wash it by hands and it's better for the energy to wash it by hands than actually use the dishwasher. So I love the way that you actually said that because
It's absolutely
I
the
think
exact
some
reverse.
people really need to hear that.
Yeah, it's absolutely the exact reverse of that. Yeah, and particularly now, let's be fair. Like I said, I want to be honest. If you go to an appliance store today and say, you know, I want a new dishwasher, the salesperson might say, okay, well, they'll have 20 different units to sell you. That's the wonderful thing. They'll have a great variety of units, colors, sizes, makes and models, everything like that. And there's a lot of different costs. They don't all cost the same, and there's a reason for that. You can buy a basic model, okay? You can buy a basic model, and then you can buy the Energy Star model that's going to save you much more on your energy bill. And I assure you, the Energy Star model will be more expensive. What you need to pencil out, and it'll show you on the machine how much savings you should expect to receive with the typical use of this machine, so that it can justify to you why you should buy this more expensive machine over a less expensive machine that at the end of the day is going to do the same job for you. I'm not saying that base model won't get your dishes just as clean as the Energy Star model. It will, okay? But it's a matter of what it's going to cost you to run the respective units. And that's why you have to be an informed consumer. And you have washing machines for your clothes, dryers for your clothes. Televisions are Energy Star rated now. There are movements around the country to have Energy Star ratings for all sorts of appliances.
Mhm.
Um, it's not in all states yet, and I probably not even in most of them yet, but it's growing. That
Mhm.
there are, ratings that, appliances, standards that appliances must meet in order to be sold in certain states. And that's going to help move the market, the entirety of the market, towards more efficient equipment. Again, with the thought at the end of the day is that as consumers, we will pay for it one way or the other. Let's pay less for it, okay, in the long run.
Mhm.
Then and let's help our environment. I don't want to just to sound like an unabashed environmentalist, even though I am. But if you could reduce pollution in the air, many of your viewers, I'm sure, have seen the impact just in this last year of the quality of our air when we take all of these cars off of the road because people are
Oh,
working
amazing.
from home,
Yes.
right? As
Yeah.
opposed to getting on the road every day. There's an
And that's
incredible,
globally. It's everywhere. You
yeah,
can really
yeah,
see.
around the globe. There's people are talking about they can in Venice they can see the water and they can see the fish,
That's right.
in the places in Venice for the first time since they can't remember when.
Yeah.
I mean, just in this year, the pandemic has been a
Yeah.
tragedy of historic proportions around the globe, but it has also made us realize what can happen when
Yeah.
we reduce our carbon footprint.
Absolutely. And it definitely showed how much we actually, they showed how much we really abuse the environment that way. I mean, you got to call it out for what it is. It is abuse.
It is. It is. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I'll go to another thing that I think is going to be. This is coming to America. It's not here yet. Ladies, I did see the movie, by the way. I
Hmm.
recommend it. It was nice. But this is coming to America. It's not here yet. It's what are called natural refrigerants. In our grocery stores, in our bars and restaurants, in our homes, we have refrigerators of types. Every time you go into a Starbucks, you go into Starbucks, the first thing you see is a refrigerator that has all the food behind it. You go into the CVS, you see on the show, they got the sodas and the water and everything behind in a refrigerator, and clearly in grocery stores, it's the biggest, one of the biggest areas. These refrigerants leak greenhouse gases into into our environment that are very, very dangerous for us. There are new technologies now that'll take some of these refrigerants that are detrimental to our environment to replace them with natural refrigerants. We're experimenting a few months from now up in New England. We're going to start an experiment with some of these manufacturers who are bringing in natural refrigerants. And if it's
What
successful,
is that? Is this like what they used to do? I know in Scandinavia very often they used as natural refrigerators. They had these earth cellars, so they were built into the earth so they would stay cold. What is a natural refrigerator?
oh, no, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Um, it's a new technology that has been pioneered, quite frankly, up in Canada.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen it yet here in the United States. I have not seen it yet, so I can't describe it to you. It's not an earthen sort of burying things down in the earth. I think the way you're describing. This
Mm.
is something that could plug and play with taking out an old refrigerant system. Like, you go to a bar or a restaurant, you've got to keep the food cold somewhere. You have to keep the drinks cold and the beers kept cold in large coolers. You would take those out and replace them with these new sorts of coolers that are using natural refrigerants versus I think it's R22, which is running along in some of the older refrigerant lines right now. Um, when I know more about the technology, and once we have experimented with it, hopefully successfully,
Mm.
I'd love to come back on and share the successes with
Yeah, absolutely.
how we might deploy it here in the Mid Atlantic region.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're always looking for that next efficiency measure, that next opportunity to help people, reduce their energy use. And then, of course, there are opportunities for solar.
Mm.
Those opportunities are very, very different state by state. Each state has different rules around solar.
Mm.
Some very supportive of solar, some, quite frankly, not so supportive.
Mm.
And here in the, well, I work a lot in the District of Columbia, we have some of the most favorable laws in the country in terms of supporting the adoption of solar.
Mm.
And you can put a solar system on your house and reduce your overall energy use before you go and replace all of your lights, before you go and replace your air conditioning system. You can reduce your energy usage by 40% to 60% with a solar system, and they last for a quarter of a century. Now, if
But
you're
have
thinking
they
about,
figured out better recycling systems yet? Because I heard that some of the issues with the solar systems is that the recycling part is really difficult once you have it on there.
the recycling part, like I said, the panels will last about a quarter of a century. And you bring up a valid point, and one that I assure you, as we have more and more people bringing in and installing solar, we're going to also have people on the opposite end of that perspective trying to figure out how do we recycle it.
Mm.
Very, very similarly here when I started working here in the city, on energy efficiency well over a decade ago, what we were doing initially was what I call the low hanging fruit in energy efficiency, which is lighting.
Mm.
Taking out older lighting systems, replacing them with these new LED systems. We had to recycle the bulbs there. So we had to find ways to recycle these old bulbs that we were taking out in order to put the new ones in. Similarly, I see a very, very sort of same type of exercise going on with solar. And fortunately, again, that's not something that we have to finalize now. Again, installing these systems now, we have a quarter of a century to figure this out.
What's the reaction you see from people when you go into people's house and you want to replace certain appliances or certain bulbs or certain things like that? Are they generally more open, or is there a resistance factor?
It depends on the appliance.
Okay, what are the
So
hard to get rid of
we ran,
appliances versus the one where people are more open to?
yeah, we ran a decarbonization pilot last year where we went into people's homes who were either using oil or natural gas for their heating and natural gas for their cooking, and replaced all of those systems with all electric systems. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of your furnace down in the basement, nobody cared. It's like you could replace it with an electric furnace. You can you can do anything you want to it as long as I get heat coming out of it when I want my heat. I don't care what fuel it uses. There's no resistance there. The water heater gets a little bit more interesting. What a lot of our customers found out after the installation, they didn't care about it going in, but after the installation, they were like, wow, the electric water heater is providing me with hotter water faster than the gas water heater was. They really liked the electric water heater, but the stove is a different conversation.
Yeah.
We had people who were like, you're not taking my gas stove out of here over my dead body. It's not going to happen. I can't cook with the electric. I just can't do it. I've got to have my gas. And so we had to leave their gas stoves in there. And we understand. But this is the thought. It's not today. It may not be when my 14-year-old son is as old as me, but at the country is moving towards decarbonization. That is the movement now, decarbonization. And so what you don't want are particularly low income or vulnerable residents to be the last few people who are still hooked up to the gas system.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do we provide a new business model for the gas companies? They have been stalwarts. We've had gas longer than we've had electricity. How do we provide a new business model so that our gas companies can continue to prosper in this new environment? How do we also make sure that our vulnerable communities are served effectively and they are not left with, because the bill for the maintenance of the system gets shared by those who are still on the system.
But that also brings up then the idea of how do we make the more vulnerable people equally able to afford the Energy Star appliances, for example, that in the long run will save you money, but at first they cost more money.
Right. So that's where companies like ours and the work that we do really comes into effect. And this not only goes on here in the District of Columbia, but in many states throughout the country. by the terms of our contract, we have to spend at least 20% of all of our funds with income qualified customers. So we make sure every year that at least 20% of our funds are going towards low income customers. Secondarily, and this is funded by a surcharge on all customers' energy bills. So our budget annually is about $20 million. Again, I said, you're going to pay for this either way, funded by a surcharge on all customers' energy bills, with the exception of our low income customers. They don't pay the surcharge. Okay. So not only are they receiving many of the benefits from the work that we're doing, they're also not paying into what we call the Sustainable Energy Trust Fund, which actually funds the activities that we're running here in the city. And many states have similar sorts of provisions where there are mandatory investments in the low income communities to make sure that there is equity in terms of not only are, the wealthier customers receiving, this work, but your lower income customers as well. We distribute something called energy kits to all of our customers, but for low income customers, the energy kit, for all of our customers, the energy kit contains 6 LED light bulbs. It contains a faucet aerator that'll slow down the rate at which the electricity is coming out of your faucet. It contains a power strip that'll turn off those appliances. Appliances are consuming energy even when they're not on. You think you turn the TV off at night, it's still consuming energy. We put these power strips in that cuts that energy use down, and so these energy kits are distributed free of charge to our low income customers, and for only $10 to all others. So we're working to get these products out into the market. Working very hard to help reduce energy bills all around the city.
Yeah, this is great because I do remember, I'm German, and I remember my aunt and so on, they would very often say like, unplug the light because it's still using electricity.
Yeah.
So we actually learned that, we even learned that like, I was a little girl when they were doing this already.
It's true. It's true. And a lot of us don't think about how many little radios we have sitting around, and the radio's got the time of day on it or something like that. That's consuming energy. You're not listening to the radio, you're not listening to music, but the thing's still consuming energy.
It's plugged in. Yeah.
Just that it is plugged in. The stove has a clock on it. It's still consuming energy, even though you're not baking anything in the oven. So there are a lot of these appliances in our homes that we need to really think about. Do I need 4 or 5 appliances all over the house?
So
telling me what time it is.
Yeah. So from an educational point of view, when you distribute these energy kits to low-income housings or low-income households, what is your experience in terms of how are they being used?
We have what's called an in-service rate. Yes, we do examine that very carefully because you make a very good point. I can give you the most high-efficient light bulb or furnace or washing machine, that's made. If you don't plug it in and use it, you're not saving any energy. So we do have an in-service rate. And in fact, what we do more than the energy kits that we're distributing in many of our multifamily buildings, we have the contractors go around unit by unit with the building managers, taking out the old light bulbs and installing the new LED bulbs. So we actually go and put them in service ourselves. And then for this, for the others who are receiving the kits, it's our assumption that as they're most people don't take a light bulb out of the lamp or whatever that's still working. They'll wait until it expires, but then they will eventually go and put in one of the LED bulbs that we've given them. And so, we want to have that there as an option for them whenever that, bulb that's in the lamp now expires, put in a new high efficient bulb.
Now, for people in the DC area, for example, if they want to look up some of your services, can they go to your website?
We have a wonderful website. It is DC, like District of Columbia, SEU.com. DC, District of Columbia, Sustainable Energy Utility, SEU.com. And further, if you'd like to talk to somebody, if you'd like to, get a live person on the phone and ask them for some recommendations, We have customer service representatives who would be happy to walk you through any of the measures that I'm talking about right now, or some other things that you may have going on in your home. And that phone number is 202-472-2222. And then 202-472-2222. And then once a recording will come on initially, just hit 0. You'll get a live person on the line, between 9 and 5. And they'll be able to walk you through energy efficiency, not only for your home. This is for businesses as well, small and large. We have customer service reps that can help them as well with their energy solutions. This isn't just for residential customers. Clearly, we are here to help all customers here in the District of Columbia. And our company actually works delivering programs like this in Vermont, Ohio, Wisconsin, California. We have an office in Hawaii. We consult in about 38 states. And so when you get one of those customer service reps, that person may not necessarily be here in the city. It might be in one of our other areas, somewhere else in the country, but they'd be happy to walk you through all of the programs that we have available for our residential and commercial customers to help you with your energy solutions.
And I think there's actually a big need for most of us to get some help in kind of just getting a bearing and an understanding in what you actually have in your household and in your apartment and in your condos and in your homes, to see where you could save energy, like the one with the refrigerator. I've never heard before, so I'm going to check out my fence now after we're done here. So are there any...
You go to the front of the refrigerator, as I said, and down at the bottom, there's going to be a little guard, or it looks like some vents down there. Take that thing off. It's gonna be really dirty down there. I show you. Don't have your white pants on when you do this. It's gonna be really dirty. Take some gloves, take a little broom, and a dustpan, and brush it off. And then if you have the energy, or you can get someone to help you roll the refrigerator away from the wall, there's a set of coils that run all along the back of the refrigerator. Clean those off as well, not with your hand, but with a brush. Don't take your hand. You'll cut your hands up. Take a brush and do it. It'll help you a whole lot. It'll extend the life of the refrigerator as well. I don't know of anybody who's in the business of trying to buy refrigerators, more often than not. A refrigerator should last you a good 15 years or so. So, it'll help the motor in the refrigerator and the longevity of the motor. Think about, like, every once in a while you would take your car in for an oil change or a little tune-up. It's the same thing with the refrigerator.
Okay, I won't do it today because, funny enough, I actually am wearing white pants today because the weather is so nice. But so for last question, what would you like our viewers and listeners to remember next time they turn on a light switch or they run an electrical appliance?
I've always asked this question because we talk about this a lot when we go to schools and we talk to people. When you hit that light switch, where is this electricity coming from? Where's it coming from? And don't tell me you've got a little rat in the wall that's running around and is spinning a wheel that's generating the electricity. Okay? The electricity that's in my home right now is probably coming from at least 30 to 50 miles away. Okay? It's come a long way to get in here so that I can have light right now. And in bringing this electricity 30 to 50 miles or so that I can have electricity in my home and my neighbors can have it in theirs, and you can have it in yours, we've had to build up an extensive system, okay? And because a lot of us, particularly when we live in cities, are not keen at all. We don't have any base load generating stations here in the District of Columbia anymore. There was a day when we did, when Pepco had a station over on Benning Road that burned oil, number 2 oil, I believe, number 2 or number 4 oil to fuel the station. And when we would turn it on, the neighbors in the neighborhood would just go crazy because you would see this black smoke billowing out of the smokestacks, and you knew, okay, the generating station's coming on. So we're building generating stations further and further away from urban communities, which means the electricity has to come from further and further away. And you also have natural losses of the electricity. The amount of electricity that's generated at the station, all of it doesn't make it into the city and then into your home. There are losses along the way. So there are inefficiencies there.
Mm.
Just think about that versus how efficient it would be to reduce the amount that you need to pull from that generating station that's 30 to 50 miles away, and how much all of us working together. This isn't a singular effort. You can't do it alone, nor can I. All of us have to come in this together to help us with our energy solutions. Many people have said we are at in a pivotal decade, I think, is what is being described as whether or not we will significantly cut our greenhouse gas reductions now,
Yep.
or leave a planet for our children that is literally burning up. I want you to think about that and the connection to the light switch next to you that's involved here. I also say this: forget being an environmentalist. If you are or you aren't, most of us though have an economy within our homes that we'd rather save some money on our utility bills. And if you want to go out and buy pizza and beer with that, that's fine, you know. But it's about our economies in our homes, and your electric bill, your energy bills, in many respects, sometimes are the second or first or second highest bill in your house outside of your rent or your mortgage.
Yep.
A lot of people have a car note, and then you get your utilities.
Yep.
Fortunately for many people, when they get those utility bills, and a lot of people don't study their energy bills. The average time that someone studies their energy bill is about 7 minutes a year. And I think that's being generous. But if you are not very well off and you have limited resources, paying that energy bill sometimes becomes a decision. Are we going to eat? Are we going to pay the energy bill? Are we going to buy our medicine? Are we going to pay another medical bill over here of some sort? Decisions have to be made. And so to the extent that we can reduce energy bills, and particularly for our vulnerable communities, I think we overall improve their quality of life. This isn't from an environmental perspective. This is just economics.
Yeah, and that's definitely a great
and the environmental benefits that come from it and flow naturally from it also help all of us.
Yeah. So really a lot of this is logical thinking in a way. It's just logic and increasing awareness a little bit of what we can do, and
I like to think so. It's not rocket
through
science.
the jungle, because you get so overwhelmed with the energy topics, what's out there, how you go shop and stuff, that it sometimes can be really difficult. So I think these are great basics you shared, great starting points you shared for people to follow. Some of them very easy.
I tell you, we have something, and my son gets mad. He's 14 years old. So remember I told you water comes out of a shower at 2.5 gallons a minute.
Yeah.
So instead of a 10-minute shower, how about a 7-minute shower?
Yeah.
And so you put a timer on there. Now it drives people crazy. You know, it absolutely drives people crazy. But you can get clean in a few less minutes.
Yes. Yeah, it's those little things.
You can get just as clean.
Yeah.
And save some money and save some water
Yeah.
and some energy at the same time.
Yeah, it's amazing what awareness does in terms of just limiting it and not just have it all just run out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. This was great, Ted, and I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Nicolette, thank you so much. Continued success to you and to your company. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to be here today and to talk about what I believe is just good basic stuff going on in everyone's homes. You know, your washing dishes, your showers, your refrigerators, your lighting. These are things that all of us have.